Good morning.
Good morning.
Maeve with harp that matches her outfit. Looks very nice.
I always try to coordinate.
Yeah. I was looking at you and of course the playing was beautiful, but you use your feet almost as an instrument. I'm not sure if we could have seen that at home, but probably we could hear it. And why is that?
Do you know, it just comes from my... I grew up very kind of ensconced in the traditional music scene in Scotland, and it's very traditional for the fiddlers and the pipers to stamp their feet as they play. And I think I just picked it up, and now I don't even know that I'm doing it. So.
Yeah. No, but it looks very... It's almost like people are like marching through your song. Speaking about your background, because you're from Edinburgh, and you have both Irish and Scottish blood.
I do.
Did you also grow up with the folk music tradition of both countries?
Yes and no. So my mother's side of the family, my mother's Irish, and on her side of the family, two of my aunts are professional harpists, and kind of through them, I would have been made aware of Irish music, particularly the Irish harp repertoire. But in Scotland, I was playing mainly Scottish tunes, and yes, both of my parents were very involved in the traditional scene, and there was music in the house at all kinds of social occasions, and I'm very grateful for the kind of the joy of music that growing up in a folk music scene has kind of stayed with me. And it's such a connective form of music. You know, I grew up making music with other people right from the very beginning, and I think that's so important in kind of maintaining your love of it.
So what you play is the Celtic harp, also Irish harp,
yes.
lever harp.
All kinds of names. Clarsach, I grew up calling it the Clarsach.
All right. And maybe it's nice to tell us a little bit about the history of this instrument.
Sure. Well, without being a historian, we're very lucky in Ireland, particular, that we've got a really well-documented repertoire of traditional Irish harp tunes. In the 1700s, a man called Edward Bunting got together all the remaining harpists in Ireland, and he transcribed their music. He wrote down the tunes that they had inside of them. And because of him, Edward Bunting, we have really a rich catalogue of Irish harp music dating back to the 1400s and 1500s.
Wow.
Particularly famous is the music of Turlough O'Carolan, who was a blind travelling harpist. He would travel from household to household and write tunes for his patrons. So in Ireland, there's more kind of a documentation of it, but there's also a rich history of harping in Scotland that's not written down but still exists. And the instrument in both of those countries would have been a smaller instrument than this, with wire strings.
Yeah.
With wire strings, excuse me, instead of the carbon fibre or the nylon or the gut that's common now.
Yeah.
And then the levers, which I'm sure we'll talk about, were a later addition so that we could play chromatic music.
Okay. Because, all right. So, and now let's talk about the levers now that we're looking at it.
Yes.
Because is that also the main difference, would you say, with the harp as most people know it, like the classical harp that we see in a big orchestra?
Yes, so I think there's three main differences. The size, of course, this is more portable.
Yeah, you can travel with it.
The strings are a thinner tension, so it's a brighter sound. If I think of it being a spectrum between the guitar and the piano, I always think of the pedal harp as being slightly thicker in its sound, slightly more pianistic. This is a little brighter, closer to the guitar end. And then, of course, we have the levers.
Yeah, maybe you should show us.
Yes. So what they do is they raise and lower the string by a half step. So this is my C natural with the lever down, C sharp with the lever up.
Yeah, I see.
So it just enables me to move between keys.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say that's an advantage, also that it's smaller. What would be the disadvantage if you compare it?
So on the pedal harp, you have 3 planes for each of the pedals, sharp, natural and flat. So there are more chromatic advantages because I'm using my feet to do the pedal moves and not my hands. I can be playing full chords while changing. With this harp, I need to do it manually.
Yeah.
So it involves me integrating the changes into my left hand.
Yeah. Which brings me to the question, would you say that it's harder to play the Celtic harp than the classic harp?
No. I mean, not at all. I think they're very different because the repertoire is different. So traditionally, there wouldn't be lever changes because they'd be playing in one key.
Yeah.
Because I'm interested in jazz and improvisation, for me, it's I value having more harmonic choices. But there are some advantages.
Where did it start that you wanted to do different things with the Celtic harp, like for example playing more chromatically and broadening the possibilities?
So I think even when I was playing in traditional music contexts, which by the way I still love and I still do, I was always drawn to a more kind of percussive, kind of funky way of accompanying tunes. So when I was 17, I moved to America, to Boston, to study at the Berklee College of Music. I was actually a voice major. I wasn't a harpist there, but I was really inspired by what was going on around me, and it forced me to kind of find out what these chords were that I was hearing, you know, and so drawn towards. And then by understanding the theory behind it, I was able to explore more. I studied with piano players and guitar players and drummers, and I started to play around with the different sounds, more percussive sounds, grittier kind of sounds.
Yeah.
So I think it was an extension of what I was already hearing within the context of traditional music, which has so much improvisation in it anyway.
Oh. So I feel you're like an ambassador for the instrument.
You know, I love that.
Yeah, and you also teach. You know a lot about it. We're gonna see you, or we're able to see you on the Dutch Harp Festival, which will be on May 12 and 13. You're also in the jury there. Remy van Kester asked you to be one of the judges.
Yes, we have our semi-finals in May at the Dutch Harp Festival, where I'll be performing on May 13th, I believe. And there's going to be such an array of harp players there: jazz, South American, folk, classical.
So the perfect place for you.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to listen to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Maeve.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.